There's a particular paradox to human effort. It's that experience of pouring hours into a task only to feel that nothing has really taken root. A sense of exertion without any real effect, of motion without any real progress. It's a common, quiet kind of struggle, this feeling of working so hard only to see the results vanish like breath on cold glass. And this feeling, it starts to take on a certain shape. It's kind of like trying to fill a bucket that's just riddled with holes. There's this constant activity, right? You're pouring the water, you feel like you're doing something necessary, but the bucket just never fills up. Most of what you pour in, it just leaks away, completely unnoticed. We end up mistaking the motion of pouring for the progress of actually filling.
The mind, it finds this deceptive comfort in what's familiar. Rereading a passage, highlighting a sentence, these things create a little flicker of recognition. A feeling that, oh yeah, I know this, but it's an illusion. The mind is just recognizing a landmark on a path it's recently traveled. It doesn't mean it actually knows the landscape.
It's humbling, really, when you consider how temporary passively received information is. The vast majority of what we read or hear just fades away. Within a week, maybe 90% of it is just gone. It passes through our consciousness, sure, but it fails to leave any kind of permanent trace. It's just a thought held for a moment, and then it's released.
And that's really the nature of information that we only consume. It's like an impression made on a surface without any real engagement. It's there, it's clear for a moment, but it has no substance. And pretty soon, the tide of forgetting comes in and just washes that impression away, almost as if it had never been there at all.
So it becomes pretty clear then that forgetting isn't some failure of the mind. No, it's a feature of its design. It's a mechanism for efficiency. You see, the mind isn't built to be some flawless archive. It's a tool for navigating what's right in front of us right now. And to do that, it has to constantly clear away what it decides is unnecessary.
There's a predictable rhythm to this whole process. It's a fundamental truth about our cognitive nature. An idea, once you learn it, immediately begins to decay. This curve, it isn't a problem we need to solve, but a constant we have to understand. It shows us that memory isn't some place for permanent storage. We're like a garden that you have to constantly tend to.
So trying to fight this natural tendency, it's really an act of force. Cramming information into your mind is a struggle against its very nature. It's like trying to hold a door closed against a really powerful spring. It's this temporary, exhausting effort that you just can't sustain. The moment you release that pressure, the door flies open, and whatever you were holding inside is just lost.
There's a really profound psychological difference here. On the one hand, you have this frantic temporary holding pattern, where information is treated kind of like junk mail. You scan it quickly and then you discard it. But the other way, it's a slow process of integration. It's where an idea isn't just held, but it's woven into the very fabric of what you already know, becoming a permanent part of your mind's structure.
Now, shifting from being passive to being active, that reveals a whole different kind of challenge. This internal resistance we have to genuine effort. There's a real wake to beginning something, a kind of psychic inertia that holds us in place when we're faced with a task that requires real, difficult work.
It seems like all the difficulty of a great task is concentrated in that one single moment of starting. That first step just feels heavier than all the ones that follow. And overcoming that initial stillness, that's the true test of will. It's where the battle against our own inertia is either won or it's lost.
And yet, once that first small motion is made, something shifts. The immense weight of that resistance, it lessens. That feeling of obligation starts to give way to a quiet momentum. Once it's established, it really does develop a life of its own.
We really are creatures of pattern. So much of what we do isn't chosen in the moment, but just follows these grooves worn deep by repetition. So a new effort, then, isn't about creating a new life from scratch. It's more about grafting that effort onto a ritual you already have, letting it become automatic, unconscious, just a part of the day's natural rhythm.
The mind resists being treated like a machine built for endurance. The whole idea of a marathon of work creates resistance. It prefers rhythm, a natural pulse of deep focus followed by quiet rest. And it's in this oscillation, this pattern of engagement and release, that sustainable, deep work is actually found.
And so we arrive at a final realization about what it means to know something. It's not something we just acquire, but something we actually build. It has a shape, a structure, and it's formed through a very specific kind of effort. This is the core observation, really.
We've been taught to think of learning as consumption, of just filling our minds with information. But the real measure of learning is retention. It isn't what passes through us that matters, it's what remains.
True memory isn't a place we visit, but an action we perform. It is the act of retrieval. Revisiting a memory is easy. It's like walking down a well-lit path. But retrieving it, that's the difficult work of pulling it out of the darkness, from within yourself. And that act of pulling is what strengthens the memory, what gives it permanence. The final proof of understanding isn't the ability to hold on to complex information, but the ability to give it a simple form, to distill an idea down to its essence, and then express it with clarity. This act of simplification, it forces a deeper organization of thought, and it reveals all the gaps in your own knowledge.
In the act of explaining an idea to someone else, we are forced to give it a coherent structure. We have to find the right words, the right sequence. And it's in this process of giving knowledge away that it becomes truly and finally our own. We solidify our understanding by attempting to build it in the mind of another person.
So in the end, we're left with this question: the gap between passive recognition and active, embodied knowledge. What really is the difference between seeing the map and taking that first difficult step onto the trail itself?